Hey there, my name is Neandra, and in this video I'll be talking about common mistakes for each part of Mercy's kit, including superjump. We've got a lot to get through, so let's start with healing, and the overall goal is to maximise the uptime of Mercy's staff. I cannot stress enough how crucial it is to cut down on things like healing allies that are full health, or having your beam disconnect from breaking line of sight. It is essential to learn beam flicking. Mercy's healing isn't great right now, and when not assisted by your second support, you'll often need to start healing another ally before your current target is full. For example, here I flick my healing between Hog and Orisa until the former uses Take a Breather, then I put more focus on the latter. If you are struggling to hastily heal specific allies when many are bunched up, lowering your beam sensitivity from default 100 to 40 or 50 can definitely make a difference. Bad healing priority can easily be the biggest thing that drags you down. As Mercy, you should always have a vague idea of where your allies are positioned, then use that information to attach your beam. For me personally, one of the biggest things I look out for is who is the most pushed up and likely to take damage. For example, if myself and Hanzo were behind a Reinhardt shield with high charge Zarya pushed beyond it, I would probably prioritise her even though she has the larger health pool. Just keep in mind that your stats will never tell the full story. Having 15,000 healing in 10 minutes looks great as a Discord screenshot, but it doesn't mean anything if Mercy constantly let McCree die out of camera view to heal the Reinhardt her Ana had covered. In fact, extremely high healing output can be an indicator that your tank's fed a lot. I generally prioritise my second healer above all else because my healing isn't great on its own and they enable me to do so much. Like, it is okay to have silver healing as long as it's not because you spent most of the match dead. I often watch who my second healer is attended to and if they need me as well, or if I can use it as an opportunity to take care of someone else. Last of all is healing allies that are anti-healed. Ana's nade lasts for 4 seconds, so what I generally do is damage boost my target for 3, then flick back just before it ends. In one of Ana Medic's videos, she mentioned that she heals anti-naded allies to trick the enemy into thinking they aren't debuffed. I normally respect the differences in our playstyles, but this is something I so strongly disagree with. I just feel like most players aren't going to think about this, like consider how many ignore Mercy's beam during a fight even though it leads to her position. If you are at a rank where someone does notice this, you're probably at one where the enemy Ana is going to shot call her nades. Remember, you don't gain ult charge while healing anti-naded allies or allies that are full health. Having repeated instances where Mercy's beam does nothing for up to 4 seconds will add up to a lot of really inefficient downtime. Next, damage boost, and the biggest mistake has always been underusing it. At the moment, Mercy's healing isn't the most impactful, so it's crucial to squeeze the blue beam, and I believe no matter what rank you are, you can absolutely push this ability. Being aware of opportunities where you can damage boost an injured ally over healing them is essential to learn, especially if you're a low to mid rank Mercy that feels they don't get to boost much because their allies are always taking damage. My favourite example of this is when you're attacking and enemies are funneling out of spawn one by one trying to stall. A slippery wrecking ball can buy defenders enough time to get back and burn so much more time off the clock, so minimising time to kill is crucial. Other examples would be 1v1s already in your favour, like Friendly Reaper against Winston. Basically, the more your team's already winning a fight, the more you can push this. When you damage boost an injured ally and heal after they confirm the kill, you end up getting ult charge from both B modes instead of just healing, so it's crucial to work on awareness and get comfortable with this. Nobody is a bad damage boost target, hell, even your second healer can be fantastic as long as you're aware of the rest of the team. That doesn't mean you should be mindless with who you choose though. Your Symmetra might be amazing, but if the enemy hasn't initiated yet, a Hanzo arrow is probably more reliable than her right clicks. I have mentioned this in a lot of my videos, and I think it's a tip always worth reiterating. The way I play Mercy is I hold down right click and make damage boost my default beam state, then tap left click when I need to heal. As soon as my target is full, I take my finger off mouse 1 and I'm back to damage boost, even if it's for only like half a second before I have to heal them again. I really love this method because it means I very rarely heal people who are full health, which really pushes the uptime of my staff. I will sometimes make an exception with this if I'm repositioning with my back to an ally and maybe my tracking of enemy positions is a bit wonky, or I suspect they're about to take damage as a sort of pre-heal. This technique is also great at assisting and boosting injured allies, like say our Reaper's fighting enemy D.Va. I boost when I see damage and can easily time my healing with Defense Matrix, Micro Missiles and Wraith. Next, the pistol. I will be honest, I think damage boost is better in the majority of situations. As well as helping allies get ult quicker, you don't have to worry about the downtime between switching to the staff and getting your beam onto allies, which is actually pretty important with Mercy's lowered healing. That doesn't mean you should never use the pistol though, and I think the biggest issue is just a bad balance between overusing and underusing it. Going for targets the rest of the team can't reach, like Widow and Pharah, finishing off low enemies, defending yourself while isolated, the blaster definitely has its place. However, Mercy needs to be quick to abandon a pistol play if it's not getting immediate results, because going after someone usually means turning her camera view away from her team. The biggest mistake you can make is tunnel visioning on a kill that ends up being worthless because 3 allies died from lack of healing during it. I've absolutely had multiple fights where Valking enemy Mercy goes after my DPS and I just heal them through it while thinking, bro, you could be blue beaming like 3 people right now and I couldn't out heal it. There are occasional moments where multiple people doing damage is better than fewer doing more though. For example, your run gets a big earth shatter but there's not many allies around to capitalise on it. If you know fire strikes down and enemies are out of its swinging distance, it can be worth shooting them instead of boosting Rhine. Same with Mail, and I recommend targeting high priority squishy heroes like healers or enemies you already know are low. Last of all, some Mercy players don't take out the pistol when they have no beam targets. During a lost fight, it's not uncommon for Mercy to be the last alive, and if she wants to die to reset, she might as well get some ult charge out of it. If I already have my ult, I'll shoot but intentionally miss because I don't want to feed enemy support ults by doing damage that doesn't benefit me. I still want to look like I'm putting up a fight though, because if I don't, it might click in the enemy's head, oh, this Mercy wants to die, so let's stagger them. Next, super jump, and most mistakes should be fairly obvious, like not being considerate of enemy hit scan. Instead, I want to remind players to be careful of enemy Orisa and her halt. When you super jump, you first have to Guardian Angel to where your beam target originally was, which can place you close to allies. This kind of breaks the traditional Mercy positioning rule of keeping distance from teammates and opens you up to be caught by various abilities including halt, which will screw up your momentum. Mercy cannot seem to GA to allies within 5 meters of her, so if you mess up a super jump you either need to start backpedaling or have other ally positions tracked because you may not be able to immediately reuse your original target. Also remember that Guardian Angel's cooldown doesn't start until the jump up finishes. However, if you time your cancel right while in the air, you can get the countdown to start sooner while retaining the movement. This is great because it allows Guardian Angel to be ready again as you land on the ground, allowing for easy spam usage. The other mistake I see is using super jump as positioning instead of super jump to position. In every scenario, ask yourself, are you safer gliding through an objective and into the air or peeking from a corner in the very back? You might be at a rank where Widows can't consistently snipe a super jumping Mercy, but why give them the chance to try if you don't have to? Next, Guardian Angel. Fairly minor, but some Mercies forget to flick their camera view about while using GA. For example, I fly to McCree to get away from enemy Tracer and notice Symmetra to my right needs healing. Now I know what I plan to do next. Most of you will already know this, but I want to mention it anyway because I see it a lot in console VODs. Some Mercies don't ever cancel their Guardian Angel early, which often places them very close to teammates. Personally, I avoid this and like to peek my allies at a moderate distance from behind a shield or natural terrain. If I position close to teammates, I end up more likely to take damage not even meant for me. Next, Angelic Descent. This mistake is extremely niche, but I thought I'd mention it anyway. Once in a blue moon, when performing a falling res, you'll want to cancel Angelic Descent to cancel the revive. You might be thinking, what? Why would I want to cancel my own resurrect? Well, sometimes the aerial res won't be as safe as you think it is. Maybe the person was killed by a Widow with sights on you, maybe it was Reaper and they're still on the ledge above. I've had moments where I start taking damage during an aerial res and realise I'm gonna die if I don't make it stop, so I take my finger off Angelic Descent and just fall normally, which allows me to gain my full movement quicker. Sadly, the res does get cancelled, but it's better to lose a res than die during it and be down 2 members instead of just 1. Overall, you can avoid this with good awareness or sticking to reses that are generally safe, but I still think it's knowledge worth having somewhere in the back of your mind. Most common mistakes with this ability fall under using it unnecessarily. Don't get me wrong, it's a really strong and versatile passive, but it has some downsides. It's slower than walking, therefore quite predictable, so don't trigger it if you're coming back from spawn to a team that desperately needs you. Your wings also expand while active, making your hitbox slightly bigger. If Trace is after you, super jumping onto high ground that breaks her line of sight is going to be way safer than super jumping and hovering over the battlefield while hoping she misses. Even while pocketing your Pharah, it's best to tap and hold Angelic Descent sporadically rather than fully commit to it so your movement is less anticipated. Next, Valkyrie. Pretty much every resource will tell you the same thing. Although it can be useful against close range team compositions, you don't have to fly out in the open. What I like to do is use the double beam length and crouch descent to be this gross spammy goblin in the back while using as much of the map for cover as I can. If I need a contest though, I'll spam GA in the slingshot to briefly dip on and off point. Also remember that your resurrect is easier to self-cancel in Valkyrie because of the increased movement speed. To avoid this, I mainly twist myself around close terrain while furiously bobbing up and down. Valkyrie can be really impactful, but it's also very easy to mess up. One of the biggest causes will be bad timing because you want to aim for that sweet spot where a fight isn't already won or already lost. I also try to avoid it in fights where my team has already used 2 or more ults unless we badly need the healing because any more than that is likely excessive and poor ult management. Outside of niche uses like going for a risky / out of range res or immediate health regeneration, there are two common timings. One, after your team gets a pick, and two, to initiate a fight. In both instances, you need to be tracking both your team's and the enemy's position to make sure your beams are hitting allies that are hitting enemies. Unless we need the initial heal, I try to wait until we're engaged to actually start my ult. In low or mid ranks especially, tanks tend to be passive and it's very easy to activate Valkyrie at a choke point while expecting allies to push in and use it, but they just stay put. So watch out for that too, and consider communicating that you want to engage with Valk. The next mistake is what you do during it. Remember that the beams created by Valkyrie have a range of only 10 meters, which doesn't cover the entirety of many objectives. Keep track of who your original beam target is so you can min-max the amount of impactful allies hit. Personally, I normally prioritise those deeper into a fight since they're more likely to take and do damage while watching others in my camera view. And last of all, don't hold on to Valkyrie for too long because it's fast charging, easy to mess up, and usable in most fights anyway. I do save it sometimes, mainly on defense in case I need it for healing or stalling, and personally I do try to avoid using it in the second last fight so I have it for the actual last fight. To finish this video off, let's talk about RESURRECT. I saved this one for last because, let's be real, there's a million ways to mess this up. I want to quickly go through the most frequent mistakes, besides just like rezzing in front of 6 people, which, you know, don't do that. For starters, timing. Allies are dead for at least 10 seconds and taking a res slowly can absolutely be the right play. Or not, rushing can work too, especially if it's the second support you plan to revive because your healing generally won't be enough to keep a team up. Either way, Mercy should be generally tracking the enemy team's position throughout a match, and when it comes to a res, she should use her previous knowledge to semi-confidently know if the enemy team is distracted or their stun abilities down. Friendly ultimates like Self-Destruct or Dragon Strike can sometimes provide space needed to push your res, and so can just big fights because enemies can't afford to camp a corpse for 10 whole seconds. If living allies are badly injured, stabilising them first can be necessary because you won't be able to heal for a few seconds once you've committed, and again, this is especially important if it's the second support you're bringing back. Moving on, be aware if the fight is already lost. If you're down 4 and not stalling an objective, rezzing an ally is just going to feed the enemy ult charge as they get killed a second time. On the flip side though, also be aware if the fight is already won. If my team is victorious but we're down an ally, I may ignore the res and let them respawn normally if our spawn points are much closer than the enemy's, a great example of this being point B of 2CP defense. The idea is to save res for when the enemy actually engages, like say you do res after a 1 fight, the enemy is very quick to regroup and their Hanzo gets a quick headshot from an off angle. You now can't res this and the enemy team has the initiation pick they need to push in. There are some exceptions though, say a Bastion that needs time to set up, or if your team plans to continue pushing up for a snowball. The gist is, you could end a match with over 15 allies resurrected, but if they were all done outside of fights, the number doesn't really mean anything because they had no impact in turning a battle around. Also make use of your limited movement. As well as twisting yourself around corners, looking at the floor can hide Mercy's head hitbox. I used to not do this because I like to keep allies in my camera view for an immediate fly path upon completion, but with fast enough reaction times and general ally tracking, you can definitely do both. I'd say the biggest mistake overall though is not communicating a res. Ideally, you want to say before you're locked into the animation so the team has time to adjust their playstyles, even more so if the res is far away from everyone else. It's especially crucial if it's the other support you're reviving because allies need to know if there's no healers available to regulate their aggression. Also in mid-ranks especially, some attacking teams will continue their push after losing an ally early, even if it means going in 5v6, so look out for that as well. I've had a few matches where I'm playing Zarya or Moira with a Mercy that doesn't speak, and I try to track her, but I've got my own job to do most of the time. It really sucks to not know our Mercy's going for a res I could help with until I see her name in our kill feeds. And that's all from me this time. I hope you guys had a good Christmas and winter break. Thank you so much for watching, feel free to check out my Patreon, and have a nice day.